Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from thousands of successful individuals from around the world. I am your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm delighted to welcome a very senior and accomplished professional from Spain, Debbie Jenkins. Debbie, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for a lovely introduction, Ashutosh. It's lovely to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Debs is the publisher and creation coach. She's an author, and all of you know I'm very partial to authors. She's an author of a book titled Stop Writing Books Nobody Reads. She's also the founder and publisher of The Asset Path, and she lives on a farm in Spain saving animals. So, Debs, before we go any further, tell me a little bit about your journey and what brought you to Spain.
Well, I suppose I'm going to go back to when I was a kid in the 80s in Birmingham, in England. And those days, for a girl, the jobs that were open to girls in those days were things like nursery nurse, teacher, or working in a bank. And I actually wanted to be a writer. I really wanted to be a writer. And my careers advisor said, no jobs for writers. We don't have any jobs for writers. You can't be a writer. What do you want to do? So I looked down this list of like all these different jobs that were open to girls and boys. And I found the one that I wanted to do. I wanted to be an engineer. And she says, no, you're a girl. You can't be an engineer. So I was like, oh, actually, do you know, I think if I can't be a writer, then I want to be an engineer. So I ended up as an apprenticeship with British Telecom and I became an engineer. So that's kind of like where I started. I class myself as a reformed engineer because I didn't stay as an engineer for very long. But the engineering degree and the background that I got from engineering helped me when I started my web design and marketing company in the 90s. So that was my first entrepreneurial consulting type job. And then in 2005, I found my way to Spain and I lived in a cave at first.
Wow.
And then finally now we have what we call the disaster farm. And my mentor keeps saying it's not the disaster farm, it's the potential farm. But it's a farm where we rescue animals, and it's very, very beautiful here in the south of Spain.
Fantastic. And in between, of course, you write books and you're a coach.
Yes. Yeah. I've written 12 books, I think, in total. Wow. And I've ghost written about 40. So, yeah, lots of books.
Amazing. So, Debs, let's talk about the Asset Path. Tell me a little bit about this venture.
Yeah, so the Asset Path, I started the Asset Path about 10 years ago. I started a publishing company and then I exited from that publishing company and started the Asset Path because one of the things I realized was that for thought leaders, for consultants, for coaches, for speakers, for trainers, for people like us, one of the things we need are assets rather than always selling our time. So we get into the habit or into the danger zone of always selling our time. So we're always on the clock, selling our time, selling coaching packages and time. And what I realized was that we all need assets. We need to be able to make money even when we're feeling poorly or even when we stop being the bottleneck in our business. So that's where the Asset Path came from, because lots of my clients, really, really smart people. I mean, they're doctors and PhDs and psychologists and, really, really smart consultants, really clever people. But the thing that they were lacking were assets. And that's what the Asset Path is about. So it's to help smart people work out what assets they can create from their smartness that helps their clients achieve what their clients want to achieve.
Very, very interesting. And can you give me an example? Because you also say that I didn't create enough assets, which you just mentioned, that would work for me so that I didn't have to keep on selling my own and my team's time.
Yeah. This really
how you went about doing this.
Yeah, it's so important. It's such a good point, Ashutosh, because what tends to happen for consultants is we go from either freelance consultants, so we're selling one-to-one time, and then we tend to build agency type consultancies where we're then selling our team's time. And that creates a bottleneck. There are only so many hours in the day, there are only so many hours of your team that you can sell. And I hit that bottleneck. I created that bottleneck for myself, and crashed unceremoniously into it. And so I was running a web design and marketing company when this problem occurred for me the first time. And when the market changed in 2000 and the dot-com bust, we lost clients, we lost hours, the amount of websites and design and marketing stuff dropped off really, really quickly, and we had nothing else below us. So as soon as those hours selling at the agency selling disappeared, we had nothing there to protect us. And that was when it was kind of a bit of a shock. I actually had to make redundancies, and it was a terrible, really the most challenging thing I've ever done in the business. And I decided that I never wanted to do that again. I never wanted to be that vulnerable and be open to the changes in the market, the things that were happening in the world. I wanted to have a base, assets that would always protect me. And that's when I started writing books. And I wrote my first book in 2003 with my co-founder at the time, Joe Gregory. And we wrote, it's called The Gorillas Want Bananas. And that's the first book I wrote. It's like 20 years old. It's like, nearly 20 years old. It's really fun. And it was so much harder in those days, by the way, to get published and do these things.
Absolutely.
You've written so many books too. So
well said.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So that book opened up, it changed the course of our business. It changed the course of how people saw us and reacted to us as a company. I got more speaking gigs. I got higher paid speaking gigs. Obviously, we could sell the book. That was also a benefit. But the book opened up doors that hadn't been opened before. So there was a credibility in writing the book, but also it was an asset for the business. It was something that we could sell. And clients saw it and said, hey, I want a book. How do we do a book? And that's when we started the publishing company. And that was like, 2005, 2006, we started the publishing company.
And the rest, as they say, is history. So
yeah, exactly. And I got back to writing, this thing I wanted to do as a child,
Absolutely. So, the other thing I wanted to ask you, and these are all questions from what I got when I was reading about you. You also talk of monetizing thought leadership. And there is, I meet a lot of friends who say they want to be thought leaders or who are thought leaders. But how do you monetize that?
Yeah, the usual way is we get our thought leadership that paid for by consulting gigs or coaching gigs or mentoring gigs. That's the usual way thought leaders get paid. And it's, again, it's bottlenecked, it's constrained to the number of hours that you put in. And it's also constrained to the reach that you have. If you can turn your thoughts into snackable bites of information that people can buy and consume in their own time or consume when they want it, that's in my opinion, the fastest way. Those are assets, the fastest way to monetize your thought leadership. So you turn them into books or videos or podcasts or whatever it is that, however your audience, the people you want to influence, how they want to consume it. And that is, once you create that base of assets, you can then reuse and upcycle those assets into all different types of things, like a book can turn into a course, or a course can turn into a book, or a podcast can turn into a course. You have so many options when you stop thinking about selling time and start thinking about creating assets.
Fascinating. You also have a diagnostic test that you use to assess one's place on the consultant's journey to determine one's potential to monetize thought leadership. Can you help me understand what is this diagnostic test? And if people who listen to our conversation, if they want to, have this diagnostic test, how should they go about it?
Okay, well, they can get the diagnostic test at theassetpath.com. It's about 10 minutes worth of questions. It's going to ask you the questions. Diagnostics these days are so useful because you can very quickly, with 20 or 30 well-considered questions, you can help somebody make that next step. You can help a potential client make that next step and make a decision. And the asset path, the way I think of the asset path and the consultant's journey through the asset path is, and when I think of consultants, I also think of coaches or trainers or mentors, is we start off as like apprentices, basically. We start off as aspiring consultants where we may be working for a large company and learning the game, learning our stripes. And then we move along the journey and we turn into what I call they're like freelancers, basically, but I'm very rude and I call them jobbing consultants. So it's the gigs, it's the I've got another job coming in, I've got another client, and you're constantly on this you're constantly balancing doing work for clients and getting work for clients, and you're playing this balancing game, more clients, more work, more client, and you're always looking for the next gig and then delivering and delivering. Okay, and those two are like what I class as we have to go through those levels as consultants. But the magic in consultancy and training and coaching comes when you take the next step, and the next step is being the expert consultant. So rather than you delivering other people's IP or delivering other people's strategies or techniques, you now developed your own thought leadership, your own IP, and you've codified it, you turned it into things that other people can consume, like a book or an app or whatever it is. And that step from jobbing consultant to expert consultant is the danger zone for most consultants. You can get stuck. I certainly got stuck in the jobbing category, and it's like a ceiling, and you keep bouncing against this ceiling, and then sometimes you fall back through and you come bounce up. And our goal as consultants is to move from expert consultant then up to the consultant's consultant. So we're the people that everybody else comes to and asks for advice, and that's our trajectory, that's our path if we imagine it as a mountain. And the asset path, the test, the diagnostic will help you say, hey, actually I'm in aspiring consultant mode, or I'm in jobbing, or I'm in expert, or I'm already the consultant's consultant. And there's 30 questions, and you get a big report at the end that explains where you are now and what steps you can take to actually move you along that journey for consultants. Does that explain it?
Absolutely. Great response. Thank you. So let's now talk about your book. I mean, you've written 20 books, and you said you also supported God knows how many hundreds of authors to write their books. But I was fascinated by this title, Stop Writing Books Nobody Reads. Do you have the book with you that you can show to us?
I do. It's here. Okay. Here it is. So hold on. Here it is. Stop Writing Books Nobody Reads. By me. That's actually allegedly me. It doesn't look like me today.
Okay. So tell me about this book, and what has been your hypothesis when you wrote this book? Well,
I've helped so many people over the last 20 years write their books, and some books I've written for people. Some books my clients have been published with Bloomsbury, Pearson, Biss, Taylor and Francis. They've been published with all sorts of different companies. So I've gone through the process of getting books published, getting books written, getting books published with my clients through all the different, so traditional published, hybrid published, self-published. And one of the things that always what we tended to find is that when the author, the potential author, wrote a book with the audience in mind first, really, really clearly deciding who should read the book and what the transformation would be for that one person, the books did better. The books sold better. The books actually did the job that they had to do. So the problem is our expectations of books, our historical expectations of books, is that they are I don't know, they're like this, they're sort of like solid, heavy, 80,000 words tomes that you kind of like bounce on the desk.
Yeah.
And these days, nobody's got time to read those
Right.
books. And people want responses a bit faster. So my idea with Start Writing Books Nobody Reads is to, whilst there is a place for the big legacy heavy books, the big deep thinking books, what people are looking for are the TikTok end of the scale, the Netflix type books, the short books that they're going to get a result from, they're going to get satisfaction from, they're going to have a transformation, and then at the end of that transformation they'll say, what next? And then they want the next book and the next book and the next book. So the idea is, rather than writing one big book, write a series of shorter books that get smaller step transformations for people, and they will then come to love you because you've helped them achieve their outcome that they were looking for, and they will trust you and work with you and work with you more. So and also you can get them done faster because they're shorter.
Interesting. And you know that old saying of everyone has a book inside them. When people do write, one of the biggest challenges I have seen with a lot of first-time authors is how do they get published?
Yes.
I'd love to get your perspective on this.
Well, I have as I said, I've helped people get published with big publishers, you know, like the top 5 publishers, traditional publishers. I've helped people get published with hybrid publishers where they pay a percentage of the cost, and I've also helped people self-publish. And these 3 are the kind of main mechanisms where an author can get their book published. Most people, when they start speaking to me, they come with this ambition to be published by a traditional publisher, and frequently by the time they finish speaking to me, they realize, actually I don't want that. I want control. I want to be able to do my own thing. I want to be able to use my book and asset in all the different ways I want to use it. I want to be able to turn it into different things quickly as I want. So for a first-time author, back to the point of the question, the first-time author, they have to go back to the absolute basics of why are they writing a book? What do they want to achieve with the book? Because you know what, sometimes, even if you've got a book in you, sometimes writing a book is not the right mechanism to get to the transformation for the client. And so you have to go right back to the beginning. So is the book the right thing? Because it could be just, you know, a course could be a better solution, or a video series, or it could be there could be a better, easier way, because books, we know, books are not that easy to do.
Absolutely. But tell me, Debs, what, you know, and I've often been asked this question, should one pursue the traditional publishers, or should one self-publish? What are the advantages and disadvantages of both options?
Yeah, traditional publish. So this is my advice, and from you've already interviewed a couple of my clients, Anne Latham, the Queen of Clarity, fantastic, Andy Bass. And their route through publishing, they started self-publishing, then they got traditional published, and then they came back to me for cohort publishing, which is it's a slightly different hybrid.
So Debs, one of the questions that has often been asked of me is, what are the relative advantages and disadvantages of traditional publishers versus self-publishing?
Okay, so both have their place, and they both are very, very legitimate routes to market for a book. There is also a one in the middle, which is classed as hybrid publishing, where you pay a small amount for the production. So you have self-publish, hybrid publish, traditional publish. So let's consider the extremes, because they're the easiest things to think about. So if you wanted to get traditional published, the biggest benefit, the huge benefit of traditional publishing is the kudos, is the credibility clue of being selected, of being chosen by a large publishing house, for example, Bloomsbury or Pearson or Penguin. Okay, so that is the biggest thing, is the kudos. The second part along with that is that they used to, but not always, they used to put a bit of a push behind, a bit of PR and a bit of marketing behind, but not all publishers do that these days. Most authors have to do most of their marketing themselves. Okay, but you had that name behind you, that brand behind you, and you were selected, so they gave you a massive credibility clip. So that is the biggest benefit. The disadvantage of traditional publishing is of being selected by a traditional publisher is you will get a very, very low percentage royalty. So you won't make money from selling the books. You won't make much money from selling the books, but the books may get you the gigs, the speaking opportunities, and the bigger clients, and that's the benefit. On the other end of the scale, so it is a scale, is self-publishing. So that when people think about self-publishing, they think that they have to do everything themselves, but they don't have to do everything themselves. They can hire a team of people that will help them do that.
Correct.
And the benefits of self-publishing are, the number one benefit is complete and total control over everything that happens. So you get to say what the cover's going to look like. You get to say how it's going to be designed inside. You get to say how it's going to, where you're going to sell it and how you're going to sell it, and whether you're going to do ebook and audiobook and hardback. You get control and decision making, and you also get 100% of the success, 100% of the profit. So those are your extremes, and they both have pros and cons. The con of self-publishing is that there is a little bit of a stigma still, where people think, well, you self-published, you weren't chosen, you chose yourself. Okay. However, so those two ends of the scales. However, the reader, the person who you've written the book for, the person who you want to help get that transformation, they don't care who published. They're not saying, oh my gosh, it was only a Bloomsbury book or whatever. All they care about is whether you can deliver that transformation. So you have to decide what is important for your career, for where you are on your asset path, for what the job the book has to do for you. So those are the two extremes.
Thank you. So I've got time for one more question. And this question is for the many, many people who will listen to our conversation. There's, based on your own amazing journey and having met so many books, helped so many different other authors, what would you say are 3 lessons you would want our viewers and listeners to take away, especially from the perspective of writing and publishing a book?
Okay, so this is a big question, so I'll try not to chatter on. Okay, I think I've got 3 main points to think about. One is, and this is one of my favorite phrases, which is chaos is a feature, not a bug. So this whole process of creating any asset, whether it's a book or a podcast or a website, whatever it is that you're creating, whatever asset you're creating, is as soon as you start creating anything, you create chaos. And chaos is brilliant. That's where all the best ideas come from. That's where you're going to make things better. But the problem when people feel that they're in this chaos is they feel they have to control it or that they have to fix it. But I think that chaos is a feature. Enjoy the chaos, embrace the chaos, just relax into it. Okay. And you remember when you're writing your books, those first few weeks of writing, and you've got all these different ideas and they're all bouncing around, and how do you pull them together? That's the chaos phase. So enjoy that. It's part of the process. The second thing I want people to think about is, to get out of chaos, rather than to control chaos, you have to put constraints. You can't get to the creation, you can't without some constraints. And constraints are good for you. They really are good for you. And like, I know as children, like, I don't want to be told what to do, and I don't want to be constrained. But as grown-ups, we have to put constraints on ourselves and also live within constraints. So constraints are good for us. So accept those constraints, set those constraints. For example, with a book, it might be a word count, it might be a cut-off of the writing deadline, whatever that constraint might be. If you're self-publishing, a cost that you were prepared to accept, those are your constraints. That helps you box. And then the third part, so chaos is good. You need constraints to get out of chaos. And the third part is, I really believe this, that it's our responsibility as smart people to create things, to create books, to create podcasts, to create apps, to create websites. It's our responsibility. We can't avoid it. We can't run away from that. It's our responsibility to be creative and to make things that other people can benefit from.
Very, very interesting. And on that note, Debs, and your 3 amazing pieces of advice, which is create chaos. And as we were talking, I was thinking, and they all make so much sense. The best ideas come from chaos. Enjoy and embrace the chaos. The second thing you said was to get out of the chaos, put constraints on yourself. And again, that's a very, very wise comment that you have made, especially when you are creating something which has intellectual property rights, like
yes,
books, websites, or IPR or a podcast. And the third one, which is even more interesting, is that what you say is that we are responsible to be creative, because, and I've often said this, that if each one of us does not write or does not put our thoughts down, look at the loss they would be to the world.
Yeah. So you're absolutely right. And just imagine, even if your book was read was read by only one person, but you impacted that one person, correct, how wonderful a gift that is to the world.
Absolutely. Thank you, Debs, for speaking to me about the asset path, about your journey, about your books. And finally, thank you for the 3 wonderful pieces of advice you've given. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashutosh. Have a lovely day.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.